But with any investigation, when you bring a psychic into it, a psychic such as Ruth, you're inviting the energy in. She draws in the energy.
Right. So there's really nothing down here right now?
No, this room really isn't that active anyways.
A gatekeeper is probably one of those hidden professions in spiritual circles. It's an esoteric process. It's the clearing of energy. It's the converting of energy from one form into another. It's grueling. It takes a great deal of training to be able to do it. This way? Left? Whether this bears up under scientific scrutiny as to whether I'm actually clearing these things or not, I have to leave that into the hands of my clients. This is not a dangerous evening, no. As long as I'm with you.
Virtually any kind of photographic evidence without a very carefully established evidence trail, which would mean it would have to eliminate any kind of ability to doctor, could be completely discounted.
I have the ability to capture full ghosts, full images, bodies, faces, arms, legs, hands. I use my psychic impressions, but more so I use the technology with it. This is a little girl coming out on the side of the picture. We caught her last night in the room. She's playing. This is lasers, using a laser beam, stopping ghosts in mid-air. We shot a laser beam and it stopped it right here, dead center. We've caught the man, the Japanese man who killed himself in the room, coming through the wall. You can see his ears, his face, his hairline, some of his clothes. He's the one that was, again, contacting Carrie with the black light.
So you could actually see that before you took the picture?
As soon as we put the black light on, the room was dark, and we could see him coming out of the wall, and I caught that on film.
These kinds of photographs turn out to be usually Rorschach tests, where you show them to a bunch of different people, and you would get a bunch of different interpretations of what they actually saw. And in fact, if you were conducting a scientific investigation, that's what you would be doing. You would be showing people a whole range of photos and asking them for their interpretations. And if they actually were ghosts in the pictures, then people should be able to identify them without being told that that's what they're looking at. The problem is, of course, that that's usually what happens, or it's always what happens, is they have to be told that there's a ghost there before they could actually see it.
It's facing her, coming out of the wall. There's an ear there, and there's an outline of a man, and then his shirt. With low light.
So you could actually see him.
Yeah.
I think some of the photographs were interesting, but I worry about using things like black lights, just as he showed you. It picks up all sorts of different, materials that could reflect that light. So even various paints and things could, as images coming out of the walls and things, it could be, weird patterns just in the walls.
We've had photographs in existence for well over 150 years, and we still haven't captured any kind of definitive phenomenon on film.
The only thing I was going to show you is just how I sample the sounds, like taking an analog and downloading it and actually playing it back so you can hear them. This is a clairvoyant audio, or EVP. So we're talking normally. His voice, his sound, his breath is coming on top of the audio. And that's usually what an EVP is. This is what we caught last night. That's on there. Does he want to leave? He's throwing chairs around and he's screeching. See those little screeches? Nobody was doing that in the house. Nobody was around doing that. In those days, Indians made a lot of emotional sounds. So they would squeal or screech. He's throwing things around. He's mad. First part, he's also breathing heavily. He's very upset because he doesn't want to leave. We told him that we're not a threat.
It's okay. They don't want to hurt you. You can stay here, but you have to make them feel at peace.
So we don't actually hear his voice.
No, what you hear is,
right.
The first part you hear him heavily breathing.
Right, but there's no actual voice communication that's picked up on the tape.
No, but he's actually screeching and he's moving things around. Nothing was moving around. Everybody's tent was standing still.
Okay.
Those times you hear, everybody was in one place. We were as quiet as a mouse. So he's saying Iguala peace, which is an Indian spirit. Now this is...
Now this data hasn't been modified at all, right?
No,
yet.
nothing has been cut.
So
other than the tracks we've cut from the actual recording, no. Nothing has been modified.
So
this is one cable 14.
How come you can't hear that normally? Like just...
And sometimes we can.
Yeah.
Other times we're active trying to talk to the ghosts.
Right.
So we're not aware. Like I'm in conversation. If I'm in conversation, I'm not aware of what I'm actually saying a lot of times. I'm trying to say, okay, it's here. Let's get in touch with it. So this is standard pitch control broadcast quality tape recorder in small cassette format.
So why don't you record on 2 separate channels so you can subtract off your voices?
When we're doing live conditions and things are happening right around, you can't carry that around with you.
I mean, couldn't you just set up the room beforehand?
We don't. A lot of times we don't know things are going to happen. If you don't go digital, you get a different response. You get a lot clearer sound, but then you lose the background. And then if you convert this now to MP3, you start hearing other ghosts behind that.
Try and figure out which instrument would be best for establishing the existence of this phenomenon is one of the big problems. The phenomenon is basically described as some nebulous form of energy, supposedly unknown to science. And therefore, it's really difficult to pin down what kind of an instrument then that this energy would register on.
Well, the standard that most people start out with really is an EMF detector.
Usually these kinds of things are used to find leaks in various electrical devices, The magnetic field lines exist all over the place. So, I mean, they have to be taken with a grain of salt, just because they can give you all sorts of spurious readings.
Using a black light, it puts out ultraviolet rays. What's interesting is when it seems to be a lure for ghosts, activity, paranormal activity, it's only, again, in close areas. It works well in close areas, but anything on your shirt will pick up light diffracts particles.
When you shine them on things, a substance can actually get excited by it and also emit with their own light. Measuring things in air, again, is trouble because you have lots of air currents. Things circulate around, air can change. And I would go through a room first and make sure that you don't have leaks out of the windows or any sort of vents that are running, that sort of stuff. A good thing might be to power down the whole house. Just cut power to the whole house for the duration.